is Thursday. It is February 27th. Welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett. I'm Bridgett Ellison. Good to be with you. It is a Friday Eve, and we're getting excited. Today is going to be one of the warmer days that's been in our forecast as of late. So we're going to check in with Candace in just a second. This morning, we have a talker topic for you because we're going to talk to Shantala Boss, a licensed counselor who we check in with from time to time. But today's topic, love, marriage, and dating, and the decline of marriages. They are down statistically, really globally. So we'll take a look at what dating and marriage involves in these modern times and post-pandemic times. So we'll break it all down for you in a little bit. But first, though, I want to get you ready to head out. Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos in the Pinpoint Weather Center. And so today, we're pulling out the tank tops and flip-flops, Candace.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the weather's gonna be so much warmer than what we've experienced all week long. We had temperatures staying in the 60s on Monday because it was rainy and cold. And
Foggy.
Tuesday we kept the cloud cover in place. Yesterday was a nice day. Today, that is going to be the warm spot of the week, as highs today are expected to get even into the low 80s across our
Nice.
inland zones. But that 80-degree weather won't stick around for very
It's a
long, as we
sticky
have a lot.
80.
No, very
Okay.
comfortable. Very
Comfortable 80.
comfortable
Okay,
80s. We
nice.
have a lot of dry air. Yeah, we have dry air in place. But it's going to be still a comfortable day, just a warm, comfortable. So when you're in the shade, it actually feels still pretty nice outside. So I'm glad you asked that question, because there's a very big difference between 80 degrees in the summer and 80 degrees in the winter. But we are going to continue to see a cold front that's going to come through later on tonight. And then that's going to start changing the weather forecast just a little bit. So let's take it to the map, show you what's going on. Warm day today, nearing about 80 degrees outside. And then as we head into early tomorrow, it won't be noticeably colder when you wake up in the morning, even though that cold front's coming through. You'll start seeing it throughout the day, and then especially as we head into the overnight hours, Friday night and into Saturday. So kind of widening out the view, this is our satellite and radar composite. We have warmer air that's going to continue to kind of build in before that front gets here. Once the front pushes through, that's when we will start to notice the much cooler air. So these are your hourly temperatures for today. Our average high for this time of the year is 77. We're hitting about 81 degrees for today. And later on tonight, you can notice those overnight lows are still hovering just above that average mark. So there's not a big drop in temperatures because of this cold front for tonight. Again, that cooler air will be more noticeable as we head into the weekend. So as you can see here, clouds and rain forecast, stopping the clock right there throughout the overnight hours. Early Friday morning, you can see that we're really not going to be dealing with a lot of rain associated with this cold front. But as it continues to slide through, the skies will clear throughout daybreak tomorrow, and then that nice weather will stick around. So this is kind of the temperature trend over the next few days. So 80s today, we'll get down into the 70s, low 70s for tomorrow, kind of moderating back to near normal for Saturday and Sunday. But notice our lows tonight will be nearing 60, but Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will be kind of flirting in these upper 40s to low 50s. A nice stretch of weather. But before you know it, those temperatures are going to be ramping up again. As of now, the Climate Prediction Center is still highlighting most of the deep south between March 5th and March 9th, which is about like 8 to 10 days out, still looking well above average. With that being said, next week we are watching the approach of a new cold front. Could get a couple 80s in the mix before that front gets through. We'll be bumping up rain chances just a hair, but then we're looking at another system, not so much next week, but the week. Yeah, not so much this coming week, but the following week, Bridgett, that's when we're really going to start noticing kind of that big spring shift, not just for us locally here, but across the rest of the country. But the problem with those springtime cold fronts is that they tend to come with a lot of severe weather. So I think we're really going to start seeing a big kind of change across the country. Yeah, not with this cold front coming through next week, but it's going to be that following front. So we're talking about around that same week that we tend to spring forward. I think we're really going to start noticing kind of a big, tilt in the weather forecast.
All right, just in time for spring breaks rolling in.
You know it. It never fails, right?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Candace.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to check in with Trooper Steve. He is feeling the springtime. He's back from vacation and looking a little toasty
Got
there.
my handkerchief with me.
Oh, nice. How are you doing?
You know, I can't complain about nothing. right now. Great little couple of days away. To most, they'd say I call it my mini vacations, but it was just nice to disconnect. I got to see
Mm-hmm.
whales, Bridget,
I heard.
whales, humpback whales. From the boat. It was in such a spiritual experience,
Yeah.
seeing stuff like that. But came back with a little bit of allergies going on,
Yeah.
super congested. Feel fine, but I don't know what it is. But
Just
I tell you,
different. The
having
change in
that
the
and
air.
then everything, and then the pressurization of the plane, that'll
Mm-hmm.
make you think your head's about to come off your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Mm-hmm.
a heck of an experience, but it's nice to be
Yeah.
back. I say that just because, you miss the routine when you get away from
Yeah.
it
You
for
got to
so
use that
long.
PTO
So,
though, So it's just good to change the scenery, right?
oh, amen. What's the slang term for PTO? Prepare the
Prepare the
others.
others.
I'm
And the
not going to
others
be
did
around.
great too. They did great. They did great. But we did miss you, but
So,
they did great too. Yeah.
good, good, good. So let's hit the roads right now. We are watching a crash up in the Grand Island area. It's going to be just north of Central Avenue out there off of County Road 44, right there at Chain of Lakes Boulevard. Just be careful, super minor. We're actually surprisingly doing really nice this morning. I-75, we were seeing some delays out in this area just north of the Florida Turnpike. Things have cleared out for us at the 329 mile marker. It just looks like a nice, cool morning out there. But like Chief's been talking about, it's going to warm up. Canned it up for you guys from Mexico just to bring it here with me. But you can see DOT cam showing we're good out in the Wildwood area. Outside of that, we're in routine delays westbound on I-4 through the Deltona area, and then of course Lake Mary, and then drop into our far western portions. You can see those eastbound delays all headed towards central portions, downtown Orlando. So our downtown drive times kind of on the increase coming in from Seminole County this morning, 417 westbound to State Road 50, 30 minutes, and then 25 if you're coming from Kissimmee. Now 37 if you add in Champions Gate. So it's about a 3 to 4 minute increase if you're having to battle that other traffic. So 528 though, out by the coast, like the chief was talking about earlier, Bridget, man, I would love to be out at the beach right now, but it is a little chilly, just a little cold. But you always know who the Canadians are or whoever our across the pond visitors are. Love that water. Pine Hills, good morning to you guys. We're running clear with just routine delays along John Young. So pretty easy morning, Bridget. People behaved for the most part. There were some fatals overnight, but we were able to clear those out before sunrise and before really our morning show. And then it got me thinking, people, spring break, shopping time. So we
Mm-hmm.
haven't talked
Mm-hmm.
about parking lot safety in a long time. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
only going to do some traffic safety, but I'm going to give people some rules to live by that I personally live by on a daily. Anytime I'm getting in and out of my vehicle, whether it's in a bank parking lot, a grocery
Mm-hmm.
store, or shopping center, there are some little things that take you just a few moments in time to do. And so you're situationally aware
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own safety. And I want to make sure you, the viewer, of course, all of us here at News 6, have the right mentality when we're out and about in public. And hey, maybe it
Mm-hmm.
could save you or save somebody else sometime. So join me today, 10 a.m., clickorlando.com.
All right, we'll see you then, and good to have you back, and we'll be looking forward to that, and hopefully you can maybe get a Claritin or a Zyrtec or something to
Yeah, something. We'll see what
handle
happens.
that. Yeah. All right, see you then, Steve. Thanks. We do want to take a quick look at some of the top headlines this morning. Out of Lake County, some concerns this morning because a student, apparently, deputies say this student had a journal and it had a list of names of students and teachers and was titled a kill list. The student is saying that, they didn't plan to actually hurt anyone, and officials say that the student is developmentally disabled, but still some changes have been made, but people are shaken up at Lake Mineola High School, and Angie Casada has more on that story.
It started with a shocking discovery, a journal found at Lake Mineola High School with a list of students and teachers' names and the statement, "I will kill." When word got out, some students on that list say they were too scared to come back to class.
It's just really nerve-wracking. When the doorbell rings, somebody knocks on the door. We don't know who it is. The past 2 days, I haven't been to school. I've been having trouble sleeping, and I just haven't had the energy to get up and go.
None of us have really been to school
No,
these
as
past
far as
2
I've been
days.
aware.
The Lake County Sheriff's Office says the student who wrote the list told a deputy they never intended to hurt anyone, claiming the names belonged to people who bullied them. But parents of those students tell News 6 that's not true.
These kids are not bullies, and they have, I can only really speak for Landon, but all of them, but I know Landon's just been racking his brain over the last few days about what could he have done to trigger this, to have him be so upset that he wrote his name on this list.
The school district says the student who wrote the list has been, quote, alternatively placed, but they won't say exactly what that means. And the sheriff's office says no arrest was made because the student has cognitive and developmental disabilities and didn't fully understand the gravity of the situation.
And so we'll be following the latest developments with that as we move throughout the day. And speaking of school safety, there's actually a summit happening right now, a conference here in the area. And our Mark Lehman has more on how they are hosting this event, the Department of Education, taking a look at better ways to respond in case of emergency as well as safety around schools.
In an ever-evolving world of protecting students, leaders in education and law enforcement are coming together at Florida's first national summit on school safety. Topping the agenda is the impact of the 2018 Parkland school shooting.
What have we learned since Parkland, and how is that being applied today?
Parkland was the game changer, and how it did so is really our diligence as a state in identifying potential threats early.
News 6 education expert Jordan Rodriguez says threat assessment is a key issue. During the summit, there will also be talks on school safety legislation. That's happening as state lawmakers are considering a bill to roll back gun control passed in the wake of Parkland. One measure would undo a law that raised the age for buying a rifle from 18 to 21.
18 or 21 is not going to make a difference in my mind. It is getting to the mental health crisis. That's what we've got to put all of our energy into, and identifying those kids early.
Meanwhile, negotiations continue between Orange County Public Schools and 5 cities to keep resource officers on 30 campuses. The cities have argued and offered to increase salaries isn't enough, and if a deal isn't reached, the district would have to turn to guardians.
There's probably going to be some discussion about guardian programs. There'll probably be some discussions about what kind of trainings are going to go on.
And we have information on the services for late State Senator Geraldine Thompson. There will be a public viewing this morning at 11 at the homegoing service set tomorrow for 11, actually. And the viewing is today at Majestic Life from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Majestic Life off of Kirkman Road. The late state senator, a longtime Florida leader representing West Orange County, died last week after complications from knee replacement surgery. Thompson was 76. Also this morning, we had a busy night along the Space Coast, several launches. We had some Starlink internet satellites head out, and that was overnight. We also had a lunar launcher that also took off from the Space Coast. So a busy day yesterday. The lunar lander is called Athena. And so you can read up more about that on clickorlando.com. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We'll be talking about love, marriage, and dating in modern society with licensed counselor Chantal Abbas. Stay with us. Welcome back. This morning we are catching up with licensed counselor Shantala Boss, and we're talking about a different topic this morning when it comes to love, dating, marriage, and sort of a decline in marriages statistically. So, good morning. Good to see you again, Shantala.
You too, Bridget.
So, there have been lots of articles about this lately, and so I'm from what I'm seeing, it seems like it's a global trend that sort of like marriages statistically are down and birth rates are down in some places. And why is that?
Well, I believe it's because there's more social isolation than ever before. People aren't going out and meeting people like they once did. Unfortunately, I think especially when COVID started, it's good and bad because we got online, we did a lot more Zoom, we did a lot more FaceTime, and we learned a lot more how to connect with other people without seeing them in person. But that's continued, and now it's so easy to stay home and not go out and not meet people. And especially with our young people, that's almost foreign to them. They're more isolated than ever before. They don't want to go out and drive. They're not really motivated. They have all their friends online. And that can become a problem when it comes to meeting other people and really having that social connection, because we do need that as humans.
And so people are starting to venture out more, but like you said, it's still sort of, a resurgence of that. But we've also seen people sort of shying away more and more from some of the traditional like dating apps that have been really popular like the last 15, 20 years. So it's like people aren't really loving those as much as they did at first.
I'm noticing that. I am. I'm talking to people who are on them, and unfortunately, it's difficult to get to know someone online, and then they meet up and they're disappointed, or they go out a few times and they're really excited about it, but that person is talking to someone else or several other people and may just ghost them one day after a month, 2 months, 3 months. So there's so many more options, but there's so less options, if that makes sense. It seems like the pool is bigger than ever before, but really the connection and the quality of the relationship is definitely watered down. So I tell my clients, if you're going to go that route and go online, there's possible you could meet someone and be their partner forever, but it's also possible that these things could happen. So be prepared for that. What kind of warning signs do you need to look for if it's not a relationship that you really want, and really making a list of what you're looking for and deciding that before you go out there on those dating apps, I think is really important. And dating in general, to have that expectation list and make sure you know what you're looking for.
Now, what about the different age groups? Because you counsel a wide range of ages. So are younger people sort of holding off on starting dating? Are you seeing sort of like that, that teenage age range sort of being late bloomers more so too? Or what would you say for that age group?
I would say teenagers are still in person, seeing each other, dating. I think it really happens more when the young adults get into the workforce after college, and they have their career, they're starting their career, they're getting busy, and they feel like everyone else is living their life. They feel like they've lost connection, and it's easy for that to happen. So it's really important that they get into things that they enjoy, maybe get involved in their community, volunteering or hobbies. It doesn't have to be sports. It could be something like art class, pottery class, learning new things, things they're interested in, so they can meet someone and have that common bond and connection, and make a friend first instead of having that pressure of having to go on a date right away.
And what would you say, generationally, because it seems like we've seen stories about women who maybe have waited to get married, and then like they're getting into like those later years for childbearing. So now people are like waiting, and if they can afford to, they try to like freeze eggs and things like that. So people are putting off marriage sort of as long as possible. Do you think it's a more of a hesitation now, or just people are, willing to take the chance that it might not happen?
I think maybe it's more of a freedom thing for women. I think within the last 30 years or so, women have become much more liberated in how their jobs and their careers and what direction they want to go. And also with fertility treatments, they don't necessarily have to stay or be with a man. So I think there's a lot of other options for women. And so that's part of it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I do believe that women are more empowered than they have been in the past. And they may not want to be in a long-term relationship, but still have the perks of having a family.
And then I would imagine that when you're talking to people who are having counseling and things like that, they may have had experienced trauma and things like that, either in their family down the line and things like that, that might make them feel shying away from, dating or marriages. So it can sort of be hard to overcome that if it's been a generational thing where there maybe been a big history of, either divorces or maybe abusive relationships that can make people sort of shy away.
That's true. And, that's been around for as long as marriages have been around, but people are talking about it more. Mental health is a big topic. So people are more aware now of what they want, what they need, what they're looking for, because they want that quality relationship, where I feel like in the past it was part of the life cycle and you just have the relationship and you stay with that person. Now it's like, what do I want out of this? How is this meeting my emotional needs to be the best version of myself, which is different than it used to be. Which is a positive thing for both, for men, women, for everyone. And I think as a result, marriages will last longer should a person get to know themselves and know what they need and want and how they want to grow together. So I think it can be a real positive thing as well.
And so it seems more so as it's become more emotionally intimate and more about, those true feelings of connection. People really want that, not just like, this family wants this family to have these two kids get together or what have you. It's more of a personal choice for sure. So how can you encourage people just to not give up on, finding the right connection? Because I think it can be discouraging at times.
You're so right. It really can be. I think it's just, not giving up and really starting with friendship. I mean, I think what happens with these apps and some of these dating platforms, the pressure is on right away to go on a date, have that type of a romantic connection. And I think just having friends, meeting people through other people, through activities, having less pressure on, it's almost like sitting and having an interview with several different people and, having to make a decision for the rest of your life. I think that pressure is too intense. So I really encourage people, make friends, get to know people, figure out what you want. And the rush isn't the same for women than it used to be, because there are other ways of fertility treatments. So I know sometimes women feel like their clock is ticking and they have to hurry it up. So that hopefully encourages people as well, that there are things that can help with that, so that we don't feel rushed into it to have kids or whatever it is with a family.
I know I talked to someone who runs a dating service where they actually, vet people and then sort of kind of help match you up with people for dates and things like that. But of course, that might not be in everybody's budget to sign up for something like that. But what would be, probably the best way to meet people without, say, like just going out to a bar? What are some of the good suggestions for that these days?
I think it's shared activities. If that's, whatever kind of activity it doesn't have to be physical. I think it's finding someone that you can start the connection on something you enjoy doing. And then you can build on that and meet up regularly doing that activity. Not that you have to go on a date or that you have to wait for them to call or they have to wait for you to call them, or there's all this pressure. So finding mutual interest, even if it is virtual, online gaming, a lot of people meet partners that way, gaming, having fun, getting to know each other, and then meeting up. I think group activities, things like that, really take the pressure off and develop those friendships.
Yeah. And so whether or not that ends in marriage or not, everybody needs connection and companionship, whether it is relationships, friendships. That is something that you have to kind of encourage people not to shut down. I would imagine that happens sometimes for people.
I think it does. And when we're not connecting socially and emotionally, there is depression and anxiety, because we are social creatures. So it's easy to feel sometimes like we have a ton of friends because we look on Instagram, we look on Facebook, and all these people are commenting, but that's kind of a false reality. And I think people get caught up in that and wonder, why am I so lonely? I'm always talking to people. But having those in-person, intimate connections, friendship, dating, whatever it might be, is so important for mental health. And it's easy to forget and easy to feel like we have it when we don't. So keeping that at the forefront of our brains, and when we wonder why we're feeling low or feeling a little down, remembering we do need that, even if it's, every other week, going out with a friend for dinner, things that get us out of the house, get us meeting people, get us talking to people. I was at Quest Diagnostics the other day, and everyone was sitting on their phone, and one woman was talking to someone across from me, and then she said, "Oh, I don't think we're allowed to talk. Everyone's on their phone." So I piped up and I said, "No, let's have a conversation."
That's refreshing.
And we
Yeah.
started laughing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And so definitely something we do have to be more intentional about, though, these days.
It definitely is. We have to remember to do that, not always be looking at our phones, because it's a default, and then it's easy to not talk to people.
Yeah. Well, Chantal, it's always good to talk about this. We could go on, but where can people go for more information and, reach out for, assistance if they need help sort of breaking out of that shell?
Well, if they're looking for support, see a therapist. Psychology Today is a great resource. You can put in what insurance you have, what type of therapist you're looking for, and it can kind of match you with people within the area. So that's a really good resource to look at.
All right. Wonderful. Always good to see you. Thanks.
You too. Bye, Bridget.
Bye. All right, we have a really interesting story, and you might want to go ahead and get your tickets. Our Lisa Bell has more on the story behind the history of the Brooklyn Bridge and a show you can go see to find out more about that.
Tell me about this character you're playing in Brooklyn's Bridge.
Oh, Emily Roebling. Man, what an incredible woman. She was a genius, but she was alive in the 1800s.
And we will see it happen from our window.
I play Colonel Washington Roebling. Colonel Washington Roebling is largely known and accredited for building of the Brooklyn Bridge.
When her husband fell ill, and it was threatened that the engineering job, the head engineer job of the bridge would be taken away from him, she stepped in and did most of the work for him, but he got all the credit. So he was bedridden, and she would do the plans, the math, the engineering, and she would deliver them to the work site and say, "I got these from my husband." She loved science. Her brain was just constantly like working. If you read like things that she wrote, she was a genius. Like her mind didn't stop. And she knew that this bridge could be built, but nothing had ever been done like that in the past, this particular type of bridge. It was new. And she was one of the only people who truly knew that mathematically and scientifically it could be done.
Lisa Bell, Getting Results, News 6.
Who knew? We can check that out at the DPAC. Always some good shows over there. Well, that's going to do it for us. We will be back with some live news and weather coming up at noon. So we'll see you then. Have a good morning.